Once you awaken, you don't fall asleep in conversations anymore. You start hearing what's behind the words. You feel when affection is borrowed, when attention is performative, when attachment is confused with safety. You begin to notice that much of what the world calls love is really fear negotiating with loneliness. And suddenly, the rooms you used to fit into so easily feel loud. This is not loneliness. This is discernment. There was a time, long before dating apps and endless options, when awakened people also struggled to belong. Ancient wanderers left their villages because they could no longer pretend the rituals were enough. Desert mystics chose caves over crowds, not because they hated humanity, but because they could no longer lie to themselves about what nourished them. You are not alone in this pattern. You are repeating an old, sacred tension, the pull between truth and connection. You've probably felt it. You meet someone kind, intelligent, attractive, and still something in you stays quiet, not guarded, just unmoved, and you wonder if you've become cold. But the truth is gentler than that. Your nervous system has stopped confusing intensity with intimacy. Your spirit has grown allergic to illusion. This is not numbness. This is clarity. Think of how many relationships once survived on distraction, on shared chaos, on mutual avoidance. Now you sit with your own silence. You can be alone without escaping yourself. And because of that, you can no longer bond over noise. You need presence. Most people haven't learned that language yet. This is why it feels rare now, not because love is disappearing, but because you are no longer willing to trade awareness for attachment. And as this realization settles in, gently, almost imperceptibly, another truth begins to rise beneath the loneliness, a quieter truth that asks you to go deeper still. There is a hidden grief in awakening that few talk about. It is the grief of outgrowing the way you used to love. You don't just lose people, you lose the version of yourself that once fit into shallow waters without thirst. There was a time when attention felt like connection, when being chosen felt like being seen. Now you want to be understood, and that is a much rarer hunger. Depth always narrows the field. Look at real life around you. The friend who once jumped from relationship to relationship now feels foreign to you. The conversations that once lasted all night now end quickly because talk of status, drama, and distraction no longer feeds you. Even romance itself has changed. You no longer want to be rescued, admired, or completed. You want to be met. History shows this pattern again and again. Those who turned inward first always walked alone for a while. Innovators, healers, thinkers. Not because they were unlovable, but because they no longer belonged to the common rhythms of desire. They were out of sync, ahead of their time, listening to a different drum. To evolve is to temporarily stand apart. Modern love often moves at the speed of consumption. Swipe, match, replace. But you move at the speed of integration. You need time to feel safe, time to sense truth, time to let layers unfold. And in a culture addicted to immediacy, your pace feels inconvenient. You're not hard to love. You're just no longer available for unconscious love. You may notice that the more self-aware you become, the fewer people you feel romantically drawn to. Attraction now begins in the nervous system, not the eyes. Your body listens before your mind decides. And most bodies are still trained to perform, not to be. This is not being too much. This is being attuned. Sometimes you wonder if you've missed your chance, if awakening came at the cost of companionship. But here is the quiet truth. What is leaving your life now was never built for the depth you are growing into. You are not losing love. You are shedding its earlier, unfinished versions. And just as this understanding softens into your chest, another layer of the message begins to form, one that doesn't speak of loss at all, but of preparation. And this is where it quietly turns, from sadness into something almost holy. You are not being punished with distance. You are being prepared for precision. When the universe begins refining your heart, it removes everything that once distracted you from what is real. It teaches you how to sit with yourself without collapsing into need. It shows you how to be whole without witnesses. And only after you stop begging love to save you, does it begin training you to receive it. You start to notice this preparation in small human ways. You cancel plans you once would have forced yourself to keep. You leave conversations sooner, not out of arrogance, but because your energy has become valuable to you. You no longer chase chemistry, you wait for calm. And that waiting feels unbearable at times. Waiting is not emptiness, it is alignment. Think of the old stories where travelers had to cross long deserts before finding their people. Not to prove worth, but to shed excess. The desert strips illusions fast. And in your own quiet way, you've been walking one, saying no to connections that almost fit, letting go of close enough, learning the ache of solitude without turning it into desperation. You may remember a past relationship where you stayed too long, hoping love would deepen with time. It didn't. It only got louder, heavier, more confusing. Now you sense early what once took years to see. You feel when someone is emotionally unavailable within minutes. You detect misalignment in subtle tones of voice, in the way someone avoids stillness, in how they cannot be alone with themselves. Discernment is the quiet superpower of the awakened. This is why it feels like the pool has grown so small. You're no longer dating potential. You're meeting presence, and presence is rare in a distracted world. But rarity does not mean impossibility. It means when it arrives, it will not disrupt your nervous system. It will settle it. Here is the secret no one tells you. The love you are waiting for is not late. It is being built to meet the version of you that now exists. The one who can hold depth without panic. The one who doesn't confuse intensity with intimacy. The one who has learned how to be gentle with their own shadow. And as this truth lands, softly but firmly, the loneliness begins to shift into something else. A quiet knowing that what is forming now is not absence, but approach. At some point, something subtle changes inside you. You stop scanning rooms for rescue. You stop measuring your worth by who chooses you. You stop trying to be digestible, and in that stillness, without effort, you begin to occupy your life differently. You take up space without noise. You walk without explanation. You exist without performance. This is not withdrawal. This is embodiment. And strangely, this is when love can finally see you. Not the frantic, consuming kind that burns and vanishes, but the grounded kind. The kind that arrives quietly, without drama, without games. The kind that feels less like fireworks and more like home. You won't be hunted or chased. You'll be recognized. Look at the couples you admire most in real life. The ones who seem steady, not loud. The ones who don't display their connection for approval. Often they met later, after solitude, after disappointment, after each learned how to stand alone without armor. They didn't find each other in need. They found each other in wholeness. You are moving toward that kind of meeting. You may still feel the ache sometimes, in quiet rooms, on empty nights, when you see others pairing off while you remain single and searching. Let the ache exist without turning it into a story of lack. Let it be what it is, the body remembering its capacity for connection, not its deprivation. Longing is not proof of absence, it is proof of readiness. You do not need to rush your becoming to match someone else's timeline. The universe is not careless with awakened hearts. It is precise. What is coming will not demand you shrink, perform, or abandon your truth to be loved. It will meet you where you are, awake, aware, steady. And here is the final thing to remember tonight, when the world grows quiet again and the old question returns. You are not difficult to love. You are difficult to reach, because you no longer live on the surface of yourself. You are not being bypassed. You are being aligned. You are not disappearing from love. You are being shown where it truly lives. And when love finally arrives in your life again, it will not feel like chaos or urgency or grasping. It will feel like recognition, like exhale, like home.